It's being called the next Game of Thrones, but does Netflix's new epic The Witcher live up to the hype? Can it fill the Tyrion-shaped hole in our collective hearts? Should you tune in or tune out? I'm Kris Carr, and today we're talking about Netflix's The Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
Before we dive in, I want to give a huge shout out to our supporters on Patreon. Thanks to these heroes, I get to watch bloody sword fights on repeat. If you want to chip in, head on to our Patreon page and see if a tier works for you. We'll reward you for your ducats. If donations aren't your thing and shirts are all you seek, click that affiliate link to TeePublic. They have all the geek merch you could ever want. Lastly, I'll be doing this review in two parts. One where I'll gloss over the big reveals of the show, and the second part where I'll get all kinds of spoilery. Don't worry, there'll be a big warning to let you know if it's time to boogie if you haven't finished streaming the series. Now, let's head to the continent.
Where are you from, Geralt?
Rivia.
I don't know where that is, but I could learn if you let me.
No.
The Witcher follows Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter roaming the continent, a fantastical land filled to the brim with beasts and evil creatures, both human and magical. While we watch Geralt as he's hired to slay various monsters, we also follow Princess Ciri as she flees her war-torn kingdom, and a young hunchbacked woman with an aptitude for magic. This woman, fans of the novels and video games will know, is Yennefer. We see Yennefer grow as a sorceress and become an incredibly powerful mage, and one who decides to blaze her own trail in search of power and the thing she wants most. Fans of the novels are going to be very pleased with this adaptation. The stories aren't in the order you'll be familiar with, but once you figure out which beast Geralt is besting, you'll be freaking out like we were during our watch. The ensemble as a whole are wonderful, but Henry Cavill is particularly good in this series. I'm a big fan of the guy. I'm a huge fan of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which not enough people have seen. But even I was hesitant about this casting. Geralt is crotchety and dirty. The Man of Steel is too dang pretty. Cavill proved me wrong though. He is Geralt. His vocal choice to be low and gravelly is phenomenal.
You don't scare me.
That's too bad.
Sure, if you drink every time he grunts, you'll die, but I just like to think of it as our Witcher's catchphrase. That's his, you got it, dude. Fan favorite from the books and video games, Dandelion is a delight in the series as well, and goes by his Polish name, Jaskier. He provides some much-needed levity. While his vocals are lovely, his songs play out like dirty limericks, and he serves as a fantastic foil to our steely, serious leading man. It's wonderful to watch their dynamic, and to see Geralt kind of grow to like this doofus.
Geralt of Rivia, the Butcher of Blaviken.
Come here.
Yeah.
Cavill's character comes across as this blue-collar guy who just wants to get his job done. And there's a real element of suspense here because it doesn't seem like he can get the job done sometimes. He's just trying his best, navigating and dealing with these people and handling this bounty hunter-esque job. He's like a sexy Dog the Bounty Hunter. I should also note the swordplay in the series. The fight scenes have certainly been one of the most buzzed about things online, and I definitely believe they live up to the hype. The choreography is intense and fast without feeling overly manipulated. Everyone who fights comes across as a skilled, trained, aggressive swordsman, and it's awesome! The brawls with men or beast are incredibly fun. And they're brutal, bloody, and frankly, that is what I wanted out of this show. Game of Thrones, whether you loved or hated that ending, did leave a pretty big vacuum for the fantasy genre. Over the next year, we're going to get a Lord of the Rings television show, The Wheel of Time, The King Killer Chronicles, a Game of Thrones prequel, and potentially a Conan the Barbarian series. Witcher definitely sates your fantasy appetite, but this show isn't out to just be Game of Thrones. It's its own animal. While Game of Thrones was filled with political intrigue, sexposition, and sometimes a hesitance to show us magic and the fantastic, Witcher is a clear, straightforward fantasy. There's still nudity and sex, but it's not the focus of the show. And magic is pretty much at every turn.
You can put down your sword. I'm not here to hurt you.
Says the witch hiding in the woods.
Sorceress.
Witch.
Geralt is constantly using it. We're introduced to a mage school and a group of various sorcerers and sorceresses. The show embraces magic. It also has a fun Creature of the Week feel, since Geralt takes on a new beast in each episode. The design of these monsters has a very Guillermo del Toro
Not lay claim to a crop or a new pup. Destiny can go
Pan's Labyrinth vibe, and I'm completely into it. It's so fun to see the design choices the show went with, and there's some real fun surprises with these beasties. This is a show that definitely fills my sweeping fantasy genre needs, and I'm so freaking pumped that season 2 is already greenlit. I think you guys are really gonna love this show. Oh, and if you're just here because you're thirsty to find out if bath time Geralt happens, you sure do get it!
This is what happens when you get old. You get unbearably crotchety and cantankerous. Actually, I've always wanted to know, do witches ever retire?
Yeah, when they slow and get killed.
Spoiler section! All right, folks, now we've come to the spoiler section. If you aren't up to speed on the series, this is the time to bow out. If you think you're up for it, remember, the safe word is kumquat. First and foremost, let's talk about how we're working with 3 different timelines here. What first seems like us following 3 characters who we assume will join together at some point turns into something more. A varied timeline that shows Yennefer's journey over the decades, as well as Geralt's, and his destiny with Ciri. Let's first discuss Yennefer. This young hunchback woman who suffered countless abuse is taken to become a mage. After being betrayed by her lover who tells the council that she possesses elf blood and therefore will not be stationed where she wishes, she takes matters into her own hands. All sorceresses are given enchantments and enhancements. Basically, all the girls get magical plastic surgery. But as we all know, magic comes with a price. The cost of being great beauties? They give up their wombs. Yennefer, fueled with rage and having missed her initiation ceremony, opts to still get her enhancements and does so without being put under. She's awake for the whole procedure. This obviously is an excruciating process. It's torture. She's basically given a hysterectomy while awake, and that's just the beginning. Her jaw and spine are completely reset in a gruesome and bloody scene. This is one of the most visually impactful scenes about the high cost of magic. As the story progresses and the life of a mage isn't what she thought it would be, Yennefer yearns for a child of her own, and to be powerful outside of the Brotherhood Council.
A child? What could you possibly want with a
They
child?
took my choice. I want it back. Not that I'd expect you to understand.
Ciri's story remains pretty separate from everyone's for the first handful of episodes, aside from her knowing she needs to find Geralt for some reason. In episode 4, we learn that Ciri's destiny is intertwined with Geralt's after Geralt helped honor Duny's right to marry Princess Pavada thanks to the Law of Surprise. The Law of Surprise is a reward for a life debt in which the rewardee is given which the party already has, but doesn't know about. So, you return home to a bountiful crop, or your hound has given birth to puppies. That's yours. But this can also be a child of surprise if it turns out you come home to a pregnant wife. This was the case when Duny saved the life of Queen Calanthe's husband, thus promising him Pavada, and this happens again when Geralt reluctantly accepts reward for coming to Duny's aid and helping heal his curse. So Duny and Pavada give birth to Ciri, but Geralt is long gone. What does a witcher need with a baby?
Fuck.
We also see that Ciri possesses powers like her mother, this sort of sonic scream. She goes full Galadriel at 1.2, gets possessed it seems, speaking in some sort of prophecy, and possibly killing men who tried to attack her. We definitely need to know more about her abilities and her role in what seems to be a huge continent prophecy in Season 2. In the final episode of the season, a handful of the mages come to the aid of Cintra, including Yennefer. The magic used here is fantastically brutal. Poisoning soldiers throughout the forest, firing vials that explode. It's fucking awesome! Except for Triss making a vine wall. Close the door, dude. What the hell? And Yennefer releases all her power in this one, letting out all her chaos and proving she is one of, if not the, most powerful mage. We learn about Geralt's past a bit in the finale as well, how his mother abandoned him, and we're given hints about the horrors and dangers of becoming a witcher. As the opening symbols merging in the title card foretells, this is the episode where our main characters will finally join the same timeline and central story. Ciri finally finds Geralt of Rivia after being told he's her destiny over and over again in each episode. Not only are these two intrinsically tied, he happened to be in Cintra the night of the terrible attack, trying to own up to his destiny and keep her safe. When the two embrace, it is a really satisfying moment. You've been building to this for 8 episodes! Then Ciri pulls away, asks about Yennefer, and we cut to black. Are you kidding me? They just meet up and now we have to wait a year to see what happens? Will Yennefer and the mages be able to keep Nilfgaard at bay? Will we learn more about Ciri and her powers? Will Yennefer and Geralt ever do it on a unicorn? That happens in Witcher 3, you should play it. Now, I know the brutality of this show may not make it everyone's cup of tea, but I'm sorry. I have gotta call out the negative reviews on this show, y'all. I think it's mostly people who just don't enjoy fantasy. Y'all didn't read Tolkien, and it shows. The most scathing review is Entertainment Weekly's. A review where the 2 reviewers didn't even bother to watch all the episodes and proudly declared they didn't because of how awful the show was to them. Everyone is certainly entitled to their own opinion, but call me crazy. I think you should watch a whole show if you're gonna claim it's good or bad. You know, like it's your job. For me, this show is a fun fantasy ride. The world of The Witcher is brutal and cynical and filled with senseless death, but it's meant to show the world is chaotic and sometimes senseless. It paints a world where monsters are usually more relatable and sympathetic than the humans. There's no lessons learned, no morality tale, and that's what makes it work. This is just my opinion though, y'all, so what I want to know is what you thought of The Witcher. Did it live up to the hype? And what do you think we can expect in Season 2? Hit me up with your hot takes in the comments. Thanks again to our Patreons, TeePublic, and all of you for tuning in. For more videos, click to the left. Thanks for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.